Hello everyone, Nicole here from Nicole's Journal. As you may know, I've been using a disc-bound notebook from Jane's Agenda for my bullet journal for almost 2 years now, and I'm loving how the notebook works with the bullet journal system. You can see videos and pictures on my Instagram, Nicole's Journal, and these are the spreads that I've been creating for December. And you can see that the notebook holds up really well, even with an artistic style like mine. But for next year, I wanted to buy a thread-bound notebook that I could use as an on-the-go sketchbook. So luckily for me, the company Baron Fig contacted me and asked me if I wanted to review their Confidant notebook. I was excited to see that the notebook came in a compact size of 5.4 inches by 7.7 inches instead of the regular junior size of 5.5 by 8.5. which would give me a chance to have a manageable sketchbook without going too small. So in this video I'm going to review the notebook for you, show you some pen tests, and do a demonstration of how the paper holds up when I doodle and paint on it. My first impression was really positive because the notebook comes in a beautiful, sturdy box that I am definitely going to keep to use it to store small stationery. Inside the box is obviously the notebook itself, but there's also a card from the company and a pamphlet that has all the information about the notebook. Something cool that they mention in the card is that they plant a tree for every notebook they sell. Another cool thing is that you can refer a friend and they get $10 off their first purchase and you get $10 for your next purchase. So now it's time to talk about the notebook itself. It has a nice and sturdy cloth hardcover that comes in 2 different colors. I chose the light gray one, and there is also a charcoal cover. It has a bright yellow ribbon bookmark that adds a nice touch of color. It comes in 3 different sizes: the pocket or small size, the flagship or medium size, which is the one that I have, and the plus or large size. It does not come with a pan to close it, but I can say that no matter how much time I've had it open, it always closes tightly on its own, so I don't mind that it doesn't have one. The first page is a nice heavy paper. The front paper has a box that you can use to write your name in it, and since it's really heavy paper similar to cardstock, you can definitely use any brush or pen to draw on it and personalize it. When you go to the back of the notebook, it has the same heavy paper, but it doesn't have the back pocket that some notebooks have to store stickers or random papers. But it does have 12 perforated pages that you can use to write random notes on and then tear them off without damaging the notebook. I think it would have been really nice if all of the pages were perforated so you could tear them off without messing any section of the notebook, but I think that's something that I prefer because I'm used to using a disc-bound notebook. So I already used the notebook before to sketch some doodles that I am using to decorate my December pages and to test my jelly roll pens in metallic and stardust. But since I did everything in a really messy way, I still wanted to test the pages with pens again, so I created different pages of the different pens I wanted to test. With the tests, I noticed that this paper is really see-through. I don't know how heavy the paper is because they don't mention it anywhere in the website or the pamphlet it comes with, but I am sure it is way less than the 120 GSM that I frequently use. So there is always ghosting going on no matter what pen I used. In terms of the page size, there are 25 dots horizontally and 36 dots vertically. The paper I use from Jane's Agenda has 24 dots horizontally and 40 dots vertically, so there is not much difference there, and also the dots are roughly the same width apart, which is around 0.20 inches. One quality that the paper has is that it is really smooth, so inks take really long to dry, so a lot of smudging can occur if you're not careful. I think this notebook is definitely not the best option for left-handed people. The first pen test I did was with my all-time favorite pigment liners from Staedtler. I wrote these sentences with the different tip sizes I have, and the thickest one transferred to the previous page when I turned the page to do the following test. Keep in mind that I wrote these sentences and I drew these doodles that took me around 5 minutes to complete before turning the page, so the inks definitely take a lot of time to dry, or more than necessary, I think. The following test was with my Staedtler Triplus fine liners, and I had the same result of a lot of ghosting and some bleeding. Depending on the color of the pen, there could be more bleeding than with others, but this is always the case with these pens because each color reacts differently to the same paper. The next was with my Pigma Micron pens, and this was the one that gave me the least amount of bleeding, but just as the Staedtler pens, the brush marker transferred to the previous page when I turned it. So one thing I noticed when I used the black brush pen to make a filled rectangle is that the dots of the page always show through a dark color. This could be really useful when drawing boxes, so you can always see the dots for reference, but it can also be weird if you're trying to fill something in a doodle. I honestly don't know what to think about it yet, but I wanted to mention it so you could take it into account if you want to give this notebook a try. When I used my Jelly Roll pens to make this simple pattern design, there was no bleeding, but when I used it to doodle or to fill something, there was. So it really depends on how much ink you put on the paper if you get bleeding or not. The final pen test was with my darkest Tombow markers, 2 Uniball metallic pens and other random cheap pens I bought on Amazon or at a stationery store. And there was no bleeding with these pens, but as expected there was a lot of ghosting. So under that I did a test gradient with my Tombow markers, and I know that no matter what paper it is, if it's not cardstock and you're doing gradients with Tombow markers, you're definitely going to get some bleeding if you're not careful. So I was actually surprised when I saw that there was less bleeding than I expected. One positive thing I wanted to point out is that Tombow markers dry with a granulated effect on this paper. I think this makes it easier to create gradient effects because it hides your brush strokes better. With the other paper I use, I can see all of the strokes I make to paint an area, but this one makes it really smooth. I'm really happy to see that result because I'm going to be using this notebook as a sketchbook, so that means I'm going to be able to draw really nice things with my Tombow markers. Next, I did a doodle test and a daily spread test. The doodle test was to see how the paper would hold up to one of my doodles, and the daily spread test was to see how it would hold up to the way I draw my daily headers. And as I expected, there was some bleeding with the Tombow markers and a lot of ghosting with the other pens. The price for this notebook is $18, but you can buy them in bulk to save money, or you can subscribe to get a notebook periodically and save 5%. On top of that, I have a discount code to share with you guys, so you can get your first notebook at 10% off. Overall, I think the Confidant is a good notebook if you want something with a simple design and a compact size to carry it around. Also, if you have a simple bullet journaling style, I think it would work really great too. For more artistic bullet journalers, I think it's better to go with a notebook that has heavier paper, but it could work great as a sidekick to your main journal, and you could use it as a sketchbook and to be able to carry it around in your bag. So that's everything for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you liked this review. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.